Yo, what's going on, Xbox and PC fans? So today I'm going to go over something a little bit different. Of course, this was originally something I was just going to stick into a general news video, but it's since become its own thing, so I present to you, and I thoroughly hope that you enjoy, the Gears of War 4 / Unreal Engine 4 / where the heck is Microsoft at with this whole Play Anywhere UWP gaming on Windows 10 thing. I love my titles to be very concise, you guys know. No, but seriously, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff. So I'm not going to go too in-depth on the whole APIs thing in particular, because I am working on another video, an API-only video, in which I will go pretty in-depth. So there's a lot more stuff here to cover, so let's go. Alright, so to start things off, I want you guys to just sit back and check out some of these quotes from one of my favorite loose-lipped developers, the Coalition. And this is not coming from studio head Rod Ferguson this time, but technical director Mike Rayner. And he had this to say, and I'm going to comment on some of this stuff afterwards. Warning, some paraphrasing may occur. Working closely with Microsoft's own DX12 team, we've transitioned the Unreal Engine 4 game engine fully to DX12 on Xbox One. This again boosted performance greatly for us, and there is still potential to push the engine even further under DX12. He goes on to say that DirectX 12 has allowed us to increase performance by giving us more direct control over the hardware, simplifying the driver layer and allowing us to make fully informed and optimal decisions on how to manage graphics resources. So basically what he's saying here, and a lot of what I'll be talking about in my upcoming APIs video, is that under DirectX12, within the DirectX 12 API library of APIs, Direct3D being the graphics-specific API under the DirectX title, the developer now has much greater access and control over things like memory management. However, at the same time, they also need to be more responsible in their programming and very aware of what they're doing as a result. In DirectX 11, for instance, Microsoft went with an easier to program for but less optimized approach for just that, ease of development. But the API simply did not grant this level of control, and as a result, things were a little bit safer for a developer. DirectX 12 is more like Peter Parker would tell you, with great power comes great responsibility, and that holds true for these next generation APIs. As a developer, you will see tangible performance improvements if properly implemented, because you can now control every little thing. But if you overuse your memory budget, for instance, or allocate memory improperly, these things can bite you in the butt as a developer and have a negative impact on your game, your program's stability, and the end user experience, giving you things such as crashing the game completely or other errors that you just do not want to see. Now, to give you guys some assurances that this will not happen, let's hear what else this guy has to say. He says, Gears of War Ultimate Edition was a great learning experience for us. We were the first major DirectX 12 UWP title to market, and while we did have issues to work through at launch, we've managed to get through them quickly. Speaking directly to our community was a big deal for us, and they were fantastic at providing feedback, which we're adapting where appropriate into Gears of War 4. Our relationship with AMD and NVIDIA is better than ever as we move towards Gears 4 launch on Windows 10. They are currently looking at builds of the game and providing great feedback to get the best possible performance out of their respective hardware. We are confident that people will have a great launch experience playing this game. So, I'm very glad they're collaborating on quality control with Microsoft and AMD and NVIDIA, and I really think that this whole UWP Xbox games on Windows thing can work. It not only allows for a single development cycle across multiple devices, broadening your market for free essentially, but from a purely developmental perspective, it's going to allow for a more granular and optimized experience across, again, a range of devices. In this next quote, we're going to get a little sneak peek into what we can hopefully expect from all upcoming Universal Windows platform games on Windows 10. He goes on to say that support for VSync tearing has come to UWP and will be able to offer proper unlocked frame rate support that gamers can expect on day one. With Unreal Engine 4 and our own custom modifications, we can take much better advantage of multiple CPU cores, alleviating the game from being CPU bound and allowing more room for the GPU to shine with enhanced visual quality or higher frame rates. Single player in Gears of War 4 will not be locked to 30 frames per second on the PC. Alright, some of this stuff speaks for itself obviously, but other things I want to point out here real quick, and one of those things is that support for VSync tearing is now supported in UWP. And when he says that unlocked frame rates will be properly supported, he's saying that there will be no screen tearing if you have one of those technologies enabled. So if you have G-Sync or FreeSync set up, you can enjoy the game with no tearing and you won't need to maintain a locked 30 or 60 frames per second with VSync enabled to do it. He goes on to say that they can now take better advantage of multiple CPU cores, and this means that not only can they make their games less dependent or constrained by the CPU, but this could also mean enhanced performance for systems that have fewer cores like the Intel Core i3 or Pentium chips with DX12. Those cores can theoretically be more fully utilized and provide better performance even on the systems with fewer cores. Now, this is also the case in terms of performance boost for folks out there that may have an abundance of cores but lack the raw instructions per clock or IPC of the newer CPUs to process large amounts of computations in a hurry using only a single core or fewer cores than they theoretically could, basically poorly parallelized instructions. DX12, Direct3D, is supposed to, again, spread those instructions out much more evenly and just better utilize all of the available CPU resources it has available to it, and that could be great for all of the AMD owners out there with a lower IPC than current Intel chips, but a large number of cores potentially, and those folks could see very substantial performance gains. He mentions dynamic resolution support, VSR for NVIDIA and DSR for AMD, on any resolution will be supported within a quote-unquote sensible dynamic field of view. Not sure what that will be yet, but it sounds like it'll be sensible. But this is to include ultra-wide displays, which is crazy because so far neither dynamic super resolution from AMD or virtual super resolution from NVIDIA have allowed for their use with an ultra-wide 21:9 aspect ratio display. AKA, this is not only a fix to an inefficiency of the platform, but actually it's groundbreaking. As support for this new aspect ratio gains popularity, I think it's another great feather in the cap of UWP to be able to support the increased resolutions on ultra-wide monitors, increased field of vision, etc. With all this new insanely powerful PC hardware coming out, many folks will actually be able to start taking advantage of a higher resolution internal render. Even if the monitors won't show it natively, it still looks considerably better and a big boost up in terms of graphics. Trust me, I know. He goes on to confirm support for increased texture resolution up to 4K, meaning that just as in Frostbite 3 titles from EA, for instance, such as Battlefield and Star Wars Battlefront, you'll be able to crank up the texture resolution regardless of what your actual frame buffer or native resolution is, which is admittedly kind of a consolation to the previously mentioned rendering of the entire scene at a high resolution. But this is still another great option to have and an awesome feature in my book. Why the hell not? It looks epic in practice. If you guys have ever done this in a game and cranked up your resolution scaling to 110% or 120%, 200%, you know that it just makes the game look a whole lot better with those high resolution textures over every polygon. So it's a great option to have, and in my opinion, it looks great. If you guys have ever tried this, let me know. If you want to see a comparison video sometime of this, just say the word. Now, Mr. Rayner also tells us that Gears of War 4 will also include a benchmarking tool, and I, for one, am excited to see how this new breed of DX12 titles will fare on various hardware. That's going to be sweet to kind of see how that plays out on lower core count CPUs that have better IPC, larger number core count CPUs that may have lower IPC, and of course, just how it plays out and utilizes all available CPUs. Should be interesting, at least for me. GPUs as well, different architectures to see how they handle features like async compute under DirectX 12, and of course, new effects to boot, I'm sure. Lastly, he confirms full keyboard and mouse support with input mapping and a far more comprehensive video settings menu. So we'll see how comprehensive that is when it comes out, but hopefully that means more options and maybe even dynamic scaling of effects, as well as resolution such as seen in Forza Apex on the PC earlier this year, to keep a consistent frame rate, as it's obviously very important to these guys, utilizing dynamic resolution in both single and multiplayer modes. To sum up, this is something that always happens with new things. With game engines, APIs, graphics standards, or really computer programming standards of any kind, we have a progression of learning on behalf of the developer community, and the continued collaboration with the first-party teams that have actually created this stuff really helps. This says to me that Microsoft know this is an important time and an important game, representing an inflection point in how the company and its games will be perceived going forward on Windows 10 and UWP as a platform, and it means they're taking it seriously. They've invested their software development talent into making things like Direct3D 12 and DirectX 12, the Universal Windows platform, and making these things viable and beneficial platforms on which to develop games. With Gears 4 due out in just about a month and a half, if this game and this platform can live up to the bar being set in this interview, I think we're all going to have an absolutely great time fully enjoying the Xbox gaming experience with every ounce of what it means to be a PC gamer thrown in for extremely good measure. To be perfectly honest, this is something that I, and surely many others, were skeptical of them being able to deliver. You know, sometimes when you create something that's supposed to be cohesive and bring different devices together and work on all those devices, it really can limit the overall level of control that you have over any given thing on those devices. And thankfully, this does not appear to be the case with DX12 and UWP. They've implemented features already that I never thought we'd see or see this soon. And to what is essentially the launch title for their new Xbox One on PC thing. Remember, these are all going to be buy it once, play it on whatever device you like, from an Xbox One to a laptop, play it on your tricked out gaming PC at home with everything on max and ultra widescreen mode, or in 4K on your couch with Project Scorpio later next year. These games will have all of the bells and whistles and features built in to take maximum advantage of what you have inside your box, in your hands, on your ears, as well as what's in front of your eyeballs in your display. It's going to be a united and fully optimized experience across a broad range of devices. It will be completely free, and if these features can really work, it'll be glorious. Thank you for all the comments, criticisms, and help, and I sincerely hope you're all doing well and whatever you're doing out there. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.